All right. Happy Tuesday rolling out and happy Tuesday from Crystal with Love. This is your host, Crystal Jordan, and we are here on a Tuesday night going up on a Tuesday because you guys know we are wrapping up cuffing season with Miami's Ready to Love. Before we get started, I want to make sure, please tell me that you guys had a chance to vote today. Please drop those X's and O's in the chat if you had a chance to go out and vote. We are talking with the man himself. We've been talking about him all season. I'm excited that he agreed to come on tonight and chat with us. So without further ado, let's bring Justice in so we can get this conversation started. Let me go ahead and bring him in. Hey, Justice. I'm good. I'm good. Like I said, today is a big day in our country. Did you have a chance to vote?
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, I did. Opportunity to vote today. I did.
Good, very good. We're in a good place. I feel like it seems to me like since 2020, things are like so stressful when it comes to voting and just the campaigns are like dirtier and it just seems like a lot of stress. Do you feel like that? Like has it amped up a little bit around politics lately?
I mean, I just feel like overall, I think that we're still kind of coming off of that COVID swing
Yeah.
and trying to like acclimate to the new systems in place and everything that's happening. So I think that's causing a lot of stress in itself.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's still, even though we're back, it still doesn't feel like we're all the way. I don't think we're ever going to be the same again. I think this is going to be a lot of change. Hello, Chinese Allison. Hello, Druzy G. Thank you for voting early. So you voted early. Brooke, hello. You guys come on in. I want to make sure that we get in. So that we're able to enjoy this conversation with Justice. Hey, Roberta. As you know, like I said, we are winding down to the end. We had a conversation earlier this week with Brandy and Mike, and it was very interesting. Hey, say catching alive. Yes, catching alive. Thank you so much for joining. You guys keep those X's and O's. Congratulations to everybody that had a chance to vote today, pushing us. Just doing your part to make sure that you're contributing to getting us to a better place. We looks like we lost Justice, but he just jumped back on. So let's get him back on here. Okay. All right, Justice, before we lose you again, first of all, again, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. I literally, when we first started this season, I was like, Justice has got to come on. Because I think everybody always says they're different, right? That's everybody, and we all are different. We all feel like we're different. Justice phone or is different today. We got to get him on.
I
It,
think when people call, if somebody calling me, it just blocks it out.
you know what you got to do? You got to put do not disturb. You got to put it on do not disturb, and that way it won't do that.
Let me do that real quick for you.
Okay. All right. Let's let him do that. Hey, Joetta, thank you so much for voting today. Hey, guys, make sure that you go ahead and like, share, and subscribe this as we're waiting for Justice to get his phone. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to get that out the way so that you are able. First of all, I want to make sure that people get a chance to hear from Justice from his own words. I know a lot of people are interested to see what he's going to say. So make sure you go ahead and like this and share it so other people know that we are on tonight.
Okay, gotcha.
Hey, Mimi. Okay. All right. So we are with the man himself. Now, first of all, Justice, I was a little nervous to interview you because all the ladies talked about your voice, and we did hear it on the show.
Yeah.
We talked about how you have a voice that is definitely a hit with the ladies. When did you first learn that?
I'm learning it now.
You've known that. You obviously had to know that. I know that you're in promotions, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, my company started out as a concierge type of company first. So like
Okay.
in Miami, you had your girlfriends and stuff, and y'all had a bachelorette. I would plan out your weekend. So it's being connected to the nightlife and then also providing a service for the client as well.
Okay. How did you get started doing that? It sounds like you know what the ladies want.
Yeah, I would think it was just more so like being involved in basketball and then hanging out and being in that environment and then looking at that environment as an opportunity to take care of people the same way I was taken care of.
Okay. Okay. Now, I always ask people, when they come on, why were they attracted to this show? Because obviously, with what you do, I know when I text you last week, you were on a yacht. You know, you you obviously have no problem meeting women. You're around women all the time. It's a part of your job. So, what do you think in your head the show was going to add to that to your experience? Because obviously have a great social life.
Right. I thought going into it would be a different, I think a different setting, a different environment for me instead of, my natural state, which is just being in Miami, meeting people. Um, it was like more structure, people in me that had to create interest, that had to create conversation. So I was really interested in that part of it.
Okay. Did you watch previous seasons?
I didn't until I was about to go on.
Okay. And what season did you
I'm
watch, DC?
fanatic about it though.
You said who was a fanatic?
My mother knew all about it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Which season did you look at?
I believe it was the one with DC.
Okay. Okay. That was the most recent.
Pontiac. What was it?
Potomac, yeah, Potomac, and then it was DC and then Potomac. Now, I like to ask people, was there anybody on that season? Because I would think, when I would watch these shows, when I started interviewing people from Ready to Love, I was single, living here in Atlanta. It started in Atlanta. And I remember watching the show and I would think, that's somebody I would go out, or that's somebody I may not go out with. But I definitely wouldn't have wanted to sign up for a show that didn't have anybody I would have been interested in. So
Right.
was there any ladies that you saw that you thought, okay, I would want to go out with her?
Yeah, I believe in the beginning it was April. That was my
Okay.
interest because our conversation was really good.
Mm-hmm.
At the house, it was a little difficult for me because it was just kind of like everybody was kind of walking in one time. I mean, one at a time. So you would talk to somebody, and you look over and you see somebody else walking. You would talk to this person, and somebody else would walk in. So, you kind of had to deal with the, I guess, unnormalness of that
Yeah.
and try to have like real conversations. So it was April at first. Looney was also a person I talked to, and Trinika.
Okay. Okay. See, so I was asking, did you see anybody on Potomac's cast
I thought you
you
meant
wanted to date?
no. I didn't. I didn't really get in tune with the characters. I was just kind of watching how the show went.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let me ask you this before we get into your season. Let me ask you, what's your comfort zone with like dating? What do you like to be? Do you like to approach women? Do you like to kind of watch before you approach? Do you do online dating? Like how does Justice hunt if he hunts?
Um, I would just say I just try to stay attracted to the energy I attract. If I can get energy from somewhere and approach a person, I don't have a problem with approaching a woman and talking to her, and then
Mhm.
figuring out what kind of energy or gauge she giving me back, so I can put myself in the right position if I'm interested. You know,
Okay.
she could be married, she could be with somebody, it could be anything. So when you're talking to people, you got to have a kind of open mind that, hey, I just enjoy this person's energy. I don't know what she got going on or he got going on. I think
Mhm.
that's my approach now.
Okay. Has that changed since you were younger?
Um, yeah, I mean, we all evolve so much
Yeah.
as
I'm just wondering because I think some people suggest, and I asked I had Mike and Brandy on Monday, and I asked Mike this. He was very honest. He was like, very very visual, right? So with him, he was like, I was paying more attention to how she looked than really what she was saying.
right,
So, and I think when you see shows like this, or even in life, men are visual first, like a large percent.
right.
So women, it's like they may not be as attracted at first, but
Mhm.
depending on the energy and the vibe, and if he's somebody she feels safe with and he can make her laugh, we sometimes become attracted to people over time. How important give me like the breakdown. Like I know you're about energy and a vibe.
Right.
How much do you need to be attracted to a person? And would you be open if you weren't as attracted to the person, but you like their vibe and their energy?
Yeah, I think it again is the opposite for me. My attraction would be more so their energy, because it's prevalent for me to see so many different types of beautiful women. So when you see different varieties of women in Miami and different cultures, and you travel different places, um, beauty becomes an inner thing, and you start to try to find the beauty on the inside. So that starts with just energy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. All right, Justice. I see what the ladies were talking about. I like that. I mean, that's a mature answer. So coming into something like this, let me ask you this because when you think of reality TV, right? I don't know that people are necessarily operating in a positive energy all the time when they come
Right.
on reality TV,
Right.
right? So, did you expect? Because I often wonder, like when, like if a woman is going to the club and looking for a dude, a certain, you can find a nice guy in a club, but you also may find somebody that's just out trying to get into something. So, did you honestly think that you were going to be able to find somebody with great energy, or were you just open to the experience, or did you really think that this was a possibility to
Right.
find something that could be substantial for you?
I think it was a combination of everything you said, kind of wrapped up all in one. Um, I mean, I would start out just trying to have conversation with people and just seeing what type of person they are, and
Mhm.
then I would look, if I was interested in what they were talking about and the energy they was giving me, then I would just look at them a little more.
Yeah.
And I would just continue in that direction. If the energy wasn't right, then I would kind of be a little standoffish and just observe and see what's going on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Were you aware that the first day, because at first, maybe the first two episodes, you were like extremely popular, like you were
Right.
like a favorite for most of the ladies.
Right.
I know we were doing a recap for the show, and it was like everybody's your name was in everybody's
Yeah.
mouth. Were you shocked? Did you know that? Could you feel that the first with that first pool mixer that you guys had?
Well, I didn't know what people would say in their personal interviews. Like I didn't know what direction that the production would go with however way narrative they wanted to do. I had no clue. Uh,
Hmm.
but I do know that at the pool, that environment was comfortable for me because it was like a party.
Hmm.
Able to make girls drinks and talk to them. I mean, I think I said in one of the other interviews, like one of the ladies was talking to a guy with just budge in your cup empty. Let me, and because it was just, I was trying to create a environment where everybody was comfortable because it was like, that energy was like everybody was still kind of like, I don't know what to do, what to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
We're just all thrown in there like that. So it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you comfortable with the cameras? Because some people say they were like, a little thrown off by the fact
Yeah.
that the cameras were there.
No, the cameras didn't bother me at all. The only issue that I would say is that if you wanted to, um, had to continue a conversation after the cameras,
Hmm.
we couldn't have that. So that dialogue was like,
Okay.
in order for us to continue on I guess the cast.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you this, because that one of the things that's come up that we've had to talk about this season has been just did the casting producers bring what the men and women wanted, right? So
Yeah.
we heard with the guys, there were some comments. And it's not just one person, because everybody said, well, I asked Mike this, and he said, are you talking about Swayze? Not just talking about Swayze.
Mm.
I mean, a lot of the guys, at least the feeling from the audience was that a lot of the men wanted a lot more variety or diversion when it came to race and culture of the women. Was that an issue for you?
I mean, I don't believe so. I mean, I would like again. I have a African American daughter, African American mother. So, I mean, you put me in an environment with 10 African American women. I mean, I'm fine. Way to go.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can get with an audience want more diversity because of the city we're in. Um,
Yes.
but this is a predominantly African show, so uh, we're here too, all of us.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you weren't surprised by that.
No, I wasn't surprised.
Okay. What about age? Because I heard a lot of the women were saying that they felt like the men were there was an age gap, right? A lot of the men were a little bit younger, and the women were older and looking for some maybe a little bit older. And
Mm.
a few years can be a big difference in maturity or just in place in life. So was that? Do you feel like it was a good matchup with the age with the women as well?
Um, well, if you think about it, if you pair people off as far as age is concerned, you almost got a match for everybody.
Mm.
So if you take some 50, that would be Samson and I believe another young lady. I'm not going to say women ages on
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now, but what I'm saying is the ages kind of match if we coupled up.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Down to, like I said, the younger ages would be Kayla and Swayze, 30 and
Mhm.
33, something like that.
How old are you?
43.
43. Okay. Okay. That's a mature. That's nice. Not it's in there. Okay. All right, so let's talk justice because it's like a disconnect, right?
Yeah,
So we got a chance to meet you initially, and everybody was mentioning you, and then as we watched the show, the edit that we saw
right.
seemed like somebody that honestly just really didn't want to be there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It felt like a lot of the conversations. I want to get into the conversations. There was conversations with several of the women
right.
that you know don't want to chase. It just was a lot happening. So
Mm.
what is your explanation of how the edit came out and the justice that we saw as opposed to the Jawan justice that's sitting in front of us tonight?
Yeah, I think I was just being very direct. So in my directness and in my delivery, um, obviously that the editing and capitalize off of that, which I laughed at. I mean, I laughed throughout the entire show. I wasn't really phased by anything that was happening because I understand it. So I think it was more so like when I was having conversations, I wanted them to be intense conversations. I wanted to get in depth. I wanted to talk about things that matter.
Hmm.
I want to go along with the popcorn version and just float along like like if it was scripted or something. Like I wanted to give myself to the screen, but I can't control that narrative.
Yeah.
So that was for me.
So what do you say when it's because I guess my biggest questions is like when it comes to pursuit because that was one of the big conversations, right? That you don't feel like it's your job to pursue,
Right.
and a woman um it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
So break it down.
Yeah.
Break down what
So,
you meant with the castle and the kingdom.
yeah.
Like justice is a lot. So explain what that was. Because taken out of context, it sounded like I thought he just doesn't like her. He doesn't want to, he's not
Nah.
interested.
Yeah. So in that particular scene, I think it was the Jamala scene.
It was a Jamala, yes.
Yeah. So if you notice our date, I went from saying hello into like a very boom question.
Yeah.
It wasn't no time to actually converse and go back and forth. Hey, how was your day? Mellow your way into it. So, however way it went, they decided to do it. It just went straight into that conversation. So I already was where I was at because it was like I was being asked a question more than once in different ways.
Mhm.
When she said the date thing, and I was like, okay, here's an opportunity to really talk about this so you can understand where I'm coming from. And I warned her. I said, hey, you might not like what I'm saying,
We did.
you might not understand it, but it's important that she know that a man that's supposed to take care of what he has to take care of, if he's not doing that, then how can he even get to you?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not saying we don't pursue, we just don't chase. It's a difference because if you're chasing something, then you're not paying attention to what you're supposed to be doing. When
Okay.
you're pursuing something, you're pursuing with a cause. So that was
Okay.
the difference in that conversation. It wasn't all like, with the music and everything. It was funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about like okay, so let's talk about like what does that look like, right? So pursuit is intentional, but
Right.
there also was a references made, and I know social media when it really went in as far as like, does that mean I'm not going to I don't want to spend money on dates? It seemed like that was a contention point
Mhm.
throughout there. So let's talk about what does pursuit look like for justice?
Well, pursuit would be that we have a common interest, that our energy towards each other is excellent, that I want to actually spend time with you, get to know you. And in that case, from that pursuit, there are dates, there are moments we spend time, there are places and things places we go and things that we do.
Hmm.
But I'm saying is to chase is to go after multiple women and trying to figure out what you're going to do with those multiple women. That's just, I mean, to me, it wasn't a smart thing to do. I mean,
Yeah.
I see that. So,
Did you worry about because that's one of the things with the show, like so if you are a genuine person, right, and you see someone that you're genuinely interested in and
mhm.
you pursue them but you don't pursue the other women, you could probably go home,
Right.
right? Because the way the show is set up is like, yes, we're looking for love, but it's also about being political and staying on everybody's good side so that you stay a little bit longer. So
Yeah.
how do you feel like how did you in your head want to navigate that or did you even it seemed like you just didn't even care about
Well,
that?
that's what I'm saying. Not to care about the elimination. The goal is if you're ready for love, you're ready for love. And whatever time you get eliminated, the elimination is what caused all the projection. So now you're dealing with people trying to find a way to get
Mhm.
you, and then now I gotta sit there and deal with it. And
Yeah.
I don't care if I gotta go home. Like I'm just going to go this round, see how far I can go. I was surprised I lasted that long, to be honest.
Wow. Why do you say that?
I don't know. I just was being more direct and kind of not just flowing with if a person would ask me something, I would re-narrate the conversation, get past whatever that is to who are you? Like, what's you like to do? Like, and I had those conversations with Shakira, Trinica, April, Looney.
Okay.
Those are the people that I got along with. Those are
let's talk about your connections. Let's start with Shakira, because
right.
I hate that we didn't really get to know Shakira very much outside of the issues that she had going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't really get to see her connections at all. She's obviously a very beautiful girl, seemed very sweet, but we didn't get to see a real connection, with her. And we heard about it afterwards, and then seeing that, the reunion, is obvious there were more things happening than the edit show. So how did the connection with Shakira start? And, what is your thoughts on, how that went?
Well, it was unique with Shakira because when we first started, I had to get a COVID test. We had to get our COVID test, and I saw her then. So, to the eye, she was beautiful, and I figured out she was on the show because we both were at the same spot getting the COVID test. Like, for what?
Mm-hmm.
So when we went on set, I reminded her of that, and then that kind of broke the ice with us. And I mean, it was just like you would be in one area talking to somebody, and then you would have to go to another area. Then when you have your dates, you could go on dates with two females that you're not even having dialogue with, and now you're away from the ones you have a dialogue with. So you got to kind of keep up,
Yeah.
Carol was super dope. We had a date too that wasn't shown.
How was that date?
It was dope. Yeah, it was pretty dope. We just talked and we just vibed, we kicked back, and just kind of got into that comfort zone where we could just be us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, because like I said, that from the edit, I'm certain there's a lot more to her than we saw. Do you think that it was kind of unfair the way most of her storyline was focused on her really being sensitive about her past situation and being a single mom?
Yeah, I mean, she has to take some accountability. I mean, like I said, you can edit me, but then you got to listen to what I'm saying. I still have complete control of what's coming out of my mouth, what my circumstances or situation is. So I think accountability on her end, as far as what she decided to share with people we don't know, and then people not being receptive to that and sensitive enough to not even trigger her or put her in those type of situations was another end. So you had like two ends to that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's anybody else's job not to be that. Like, I do think we should be kind and you should be respectful, but I don't think I think that's a lot to assume somebody should have a responsibility to not trigger somebody, because you don't know.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it's not supposed to be in that setting, but you're supposed to be ready for love, right? So you got to think about the mentality of what people are thinking when they go on a show as a unit, and on top of that, possibly being eliminated. So when you got all that whirlwind going on, and then I got to sit at a dinner table, and I'm looking at the energy coming out you, I'm feeling it, and I know it's going to be, then I have to speak to that energy.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing. That kind of came off wrong, but whatever. I didn't think it was wrong. I was just like, okay.
Well, if you feel like it was fine, then there's nothing wrong with it. I think people didn't understand.
Yeah.
So with Shakira, do you think that if she hadn't left, you would have continued to want to get to know her more, or had you kind of felt like you guys weren't necessarily on the same vibe? Where did that end?
I think at the point that Shakira left, I already was getting closer with Looney. So Looney was my connection for the show.
Yeah. Well, let's talk before we get to Looney, because we saw that. Let's talk about Trinica,
right,
and how that went. Because Trinica, one of the things that I really liked about Trinica is she's one of the few women that did not allow what other women were saying to influence her. Right. So they would have these conversations in the ladies' lounge. Mm-hmm. Trinica would listen, but she would not. She wouldn't absorb that. And I think I admire that about her. Because she even, there's a scene where she's talking to you and she says, this is what the ladies are saying. That's not my experience with
you. Right, exactly.
really clear about that. So
Yeah.
thought that and even when other women, were kind of like competitive over it, she was never in that.
Right.
So what did you like about Trinika? How did that connection start, and then ultimately how did it end?
Me and Trinika connection was good at the Mansion Mixer.
Hmm.
For an extensive period of time, like maybe like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And they had to kind of break us up. Like, hey, you guys go here and talk to more people, which
Hmm.
is fine. But I think in moving forward, once we got to the friend date, and then once I'm like, okay, because you don't know, you got a connection, but you don't know what happened over there or what person else. So I'm listening to all this stuff, and that kind of like turned me off. It wasn't that, oh, I think I'm better than anybody, but if you have a connection, and you kissing and stuff, if that was the case, I'm just saying that was brought up, and then nobody
Yeah.
really. So I was just like, you know what, and then at that point, I was still getting closer with Looney.
Okay.
So it was just like, what do you do? Do you still play around, or you just stop? I just decided to stop with certain things and not let it drag on. I wasn't there to drag women around.
Hmm. You mentioned the friends. Do you mean the conversation the friends were having with you, or the fact that she had their LJ and other people were on the date with you guys?
Yeah, so our group date had me, LJ, and Randall.
Hmm.
So to me, that was already too crowded. Well,
Right. Right.
maybe one or two, but three that was tough, and it wasn't nothing to do with Trinika. It's just that the way she carries herself, she's you could feel her presence.
Yeah.
And that's very like attractive. You go to work that way, so I can see why those guys would go that way the same way I did, but I had to make a decision.
Yeah.
So
So after that is when you kind of decided to just solely pursue Looney.
right,
So when we had Looney on, I like Looney a lot, but she was very she this was before the reunion, right? So she couldn't give us any tea that would kind of lead us to know where things were. But she made it very clear that you guys had a real connection. She also was very clear about the fact that the way the edit was and
mhm,
the other women's responses to you were not at all what her experience was.
right,
Um, and so it left us, we kind of felt like, y'all were still connected after that. And then we couldn't get with you until afterwards. So let's talk about that, because one of the things like I like about her is she was very straightforward. She was like, this is what it was. She said we didn't get a chance to really see a lot of you guys' connection. And unfortunately, um, the way the edit looked like, it looked like you weren't really getting along with anybody, but
right.
that wasn't the case. So let's dive a little bit more into you and Looney, because it was her energy for you was strong the night that she was here. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, the process in us going through that also infiltrates your real life, right? Because we talked, I talked about it in one of the other interviews, is that once we had our connection and we started to watch the show, those different things and whatever we experienced throughout that time period affected how you feel. If you see something on TV, or we didn't see the episode of our date, you didn't see those different things. Those things, and I'm laughing, at it, and it's not funny to her, and that just wasn't cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I discussed that, I believe, on one of the other interviews, but it was something like that, and then we kind of decided to talk, and figure out, how we still could be friends, or if we can't talk, or if you feel away. Like, we had to go through all of that stuff so early because of the
Mhm. So let's go back a little bit. So when you guys left the show, when you left the show and she was still on, and then she left the show, you
environment.
guys ultimately kind of left, not at the same time, but together still, right?
Right. Well, again, it was situations that we experienced throughout the show that made it rocky for us.
Mhm.
So it was a period of time we would talk, then we wouldn't talk, then we would talk.
Like what? Because I don't even know what that could. Because all your stuff was like you just were being difficult with the It looked
Yeah,
like you were
yeah,
being difficult with the ladies.
yeah.
I felt like she was kind of like a lot of people on the show. I felt like they were being nice, but they didn't have a real connection. Like I felt like her and Samson, it was like they were being very nice with each other, but there
Right,
wasn't, a real connection. I
right.
wasn't sure about her and LJ, but still, when we talked to her and understood, still like not a real, real connection. So what caused a problem with you guys when you guys watched it back?
Yeah, it was just a matter of the night I was eliminated, then eventually LJ not being eliminated and being able to deal with, all the emotions of how that feel. You know what I mean? And as far as her moving forward. So it's just a matter of getting through all of that and talking about it and discussing it and suppressing all the emotions about it. Because if you think about it, I mean, you're going on what, 2 months, a month, and knowing somebody. So instead of riding the roller coaster of emotions, we was going to ride the roller coaster of communicating through those emotions. And that's what we trying to achieve, and even till still this day. But
Hmm.
knowing somebody for a long period of time, you have to work through that if you're interested.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true. So at the reunion, that was like the surprise. I mean, we knew, like I said, we kind of knew those watched this channel and some of the other channels that had she had talked to kind of knew that she was like, y'all just wait for the reunion, like because we knew that
yeah,
there was something special still with you guys.
right,
So I was surprised to see it appeared to me,
right.
and you guys in the chat can let me know if you agree. But it felt like she was a lot more sure about where you guys were than
Mhm,
you were, and that caused her to get very upset.
mhm.
Is that am I understanding that correct?
Yeah, I mean, again, it was a back and forth thing about being sure. It was a back and forth thing about trying to do the appropriate thing to make things work. But in that environment is just very difficult. So it was more so, do we continue in this confusion, or do we able to step away from it for a little bit and then come back to it and try to see if something can happen? And if it can't, we didn't drag each other through a substantial amount of pain or hurt or anything of that silliness. I mean, things happen and you feel things, but
Mhm.
how long when do you decide to take a step back so you don't have to feel that particular thing in that moment until you have a complete understanding? So
That sounds like an explanation, but but it also doesn't it sounds like a rational explanation,
right,
right? But it doesn't sound like it would satisfy an emotional feeling, right? So if I have feelings for somebody and
right,
they tell me what you just said,
mm,
that's going to hurt my feelings because it's not that explanation is totally rational. There's no emotion in it at all. At all.
yeah.
Do you operate? It seems like you kind of operate from a more rational standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, it's necessary. I mean, it's necessary. I mean, we started a conversation off talking about what's going on in society. And we talked about, the different things that people are feeling. Man,
Mhm.
take all that trajectory and you got that operating and you on top of being in an environment with cameras in your face. I mean, what are you really getting out of that particular person at the moment? Until you understand that person, then you might know why they react this way or why they feel that way. And then unfortunately, it's not going to happen in that amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may sound a little ruthless, but it's ruthless to not say it and then to do the opposite. That's
Yeah.
way that hurt way more women because people are going to get hurt. When you feel a way towards someone, things happen. But
Hmm.
what type of pain and what type of hurt are you going to put that particular person through?
Yeah.
That's what you got to kind of look at.
Let me ask you this, because before I go back to that, before you were on the show, right? Because usually, especially at this point in life, right, after a certain, when you get through your 30s and you're in your 40s, you learn how to navigate relationships based on lessons that came to you
Right.
along the way, right? So the way that you kind of operate, and it is, we always hear the conversation: men are from Mars, women are from Venus, men are more rational. Some men, some are not.
Yeah.
Some women are more emotional, some women are not.
Right.
But what's your past relationships? Have you been in long-term relationships? And does it take you, when are you able to get past the ration and actually allow yourself to be a little bit more vulnerable? Does
Right.
that happen for you later?
Yeah, I mean, I believe in my past relationship. It got to that point where I was able to allow myself to feel all of it. To feel all of the relationship, feel all of the responsibilities, feel all of the things that come along with it. I think the thing that was lacking in my last relationship was just the communication level, because everybody begins to evolve. So, where if I met you 5 years ago and then 5 years later you're a different woman, and I
Yeah.
need to speak to that new woman, not to the old one. So you know, communication to me, it was like the biggest factor in all of it, and trying to understand how we communicate to each other.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So have you been in a long term? Was it a long term relationship? Were you married before?
Yeah. So, well, I'll just go again. My last one, I knew the young lady for 5 or 6 years
Mhm.
here in Miami, and then we had a year and a half of a relationship.
Mm,
I mean, we had a rapport, we had a history, and at the present time, she was the only one I just had. I wanted her. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
She wanted me, and then as we move forward, we had to get through what normal relationships get through, and trying to understand each other. And we just both felt it was best to go apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, that's why I asked that, because that makes sense for you. You seem like somebody that doesn't move quickly,
Right.
right? And if you knew that person for 5, 6 years prior, that's somebody that's like, I'm trying to get to know you as well as I can before I allow myself to make that move. So when you're talking about taping a TV show, very short window of time, throwing a bunch of women, that's probably
Mm.
not going to be a good fit for
No, not a good throw for any man, but to each his own, you know.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I feel like, and I say this on my channel a lot, like, I feel like men do not sign up for, first of all, men are not walking around looking like, let me fall in love. I want to fall in love. Like, that's just not, that's not most men. I won't say
Right.
everybody, can't
Yeah.
generalize, but,
Yeah.
and women kind of are. Some women, women
Yeah.
are kind of like,
They ready.
looking, waiting, where's the one? I can't wait till I fall in love. And men are not really like that. So the idea of coming on a show and actually believing that you could be in this that you could end this, what's it, 6 weeks that you guys filmed?
I think 8 weeks.
8 weeks. So in these 2 months, ready to get into a committed relationship is probably not anything that a man really feels is at all possible.
Yeah.
Am I correct with that?
I would again, I wouldn't say it's impossible because you do get people that energy matches just where they at in life. Like you may meet a person, that person could be your person week one, and
Yeah.
you know when you guys make the steps, it's possible. But again, in that environment, you are correct. It's very difficult. Again, I don't judge the people that end and something great happens. Then they got through it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the odds is going to be very low.
The odds is like, I think the odds are low, but I think it's even from a man's perspective, he probably would be surprised if it did happen. From a woman's perspective, she probably would be like, we probably would be excited, right? So it's just a little bit different. So you guys had your reunion was interesting. It was shocking. It was a lot of shocking things
Yeah.
happening at the reunion. I think are there any other couples on the show, or any that you really think are a true match, that you really believe they're a genuine match?
No.
Okay. All right. Um, any friends, did you make any friendships, any relationships that you will take besides the one with Looney that you
Yeah.
will take forward with you?
Yeah. I mean, I believe everybody was pretty dope on the show. Like, I didn't have an issue like in real life with anybody.
Yeah.
People came and supported some of my projects. People coming out. I've gone to support some of theirs. And it's just like that. I would say more like associates, people that I've won on a reality show with, and if I see them around in Miami, it's always love.
Yeah.
They can always call me for whatever if they want to do something. Vice versa. Hopefully, I could do the same.
Yeah. Nice. Let me ask you this. There was a lot of conversation on social, and I was surprised at the reunion with the interaction between Sharice and Zoe.
Mm,
And there was a lot of conversation, just, anytime, especially in this climate,
mm,
anytime a woman and a man are at odds, it
yeah,
can easily become something different. And it's
yeah.
like, oh, he's being disrespectful, she doesn't feel safe, do you feel like, what was your perspective on that, on what went down at the reunion? I don't You weren't at the initial group date
Right.
where it happened the first time.
No, I was there. I was at that day.
Were you okay? So all right. So let me ask you this, because I was
Anything
surprised, Justice,
going back and forth.
that it could go from that date
Hmm.
And the same energy could show up at the reunion. Like it's like there had not been time, and there had been so much time, and not a lot of time, but
Right.
enough time to where the energy wouldn't remain consistent to the date.
Yeah.
What do you think? Why do you think it was like that?
Well, to me, it's not even a think thing. It's more like after that go-kart day, Zoe left.
Mhm.
Well, Zoe didn't come back until the reunion.
Okay.
So he's the same place he was when he left. So that to me, that was just the answer for that one.
No, that makes sense. You know what? That is true. But I did think, even though I didn't realize that nobody saw him again after that date.
No.
Um, but I did think it was sad that he hadn't had a chance to reflect, maybe, and come back with a different energy. But maybe that's just how he felt.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it was inappropriate the way that it was handled on the show, the way they spoke to each other on the show?
Yeah, I mean, it was super inappropriate. I mean, I feel like they could have came up with a different way to kind of be, if they was going to be combative, at least somewhat in a respectful way. I mean, I had my combative moments, but none of my combative moments, it turned into outrage. It always turned into me saying something, and then, people would laugh at it or whatever, because it wasn't that serious. I think, I mean, they could have approached it a little different. They could have. And I was in the middle of some of that, and they was wearing me out, and I was, what's going on? You know what I mean? So it's just, they should have just approached it different.
Do you think there was blame on both sides, or it was more on one side?
No, it's definitely both sided. Each person has the opportunity to say what they want out of their mouth, and how they feel, and knowingly try to understand what they're saying, how it would affect the other person, and what can happen. So
Mhm.
they're both back and forth triggering each other. I mean, I think both of them are wrong.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
could have a better way. We old enough to be like, you know what, we're gonna simmer this one down, cut something. Let me take water.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. That's why I was like, everybody, ate, drank, slept, probably, got some love in between. It just seems weird. Let me ask you this, because another thing in the show, and this happens most seasons, and that's why I said when I started this conversation, you are different than a lot of the men that come on this show, because a lot of men really struggle
Right.
with being in the middle of multiple women,
Yeah.
right? Even if they're not really vested in those women, it's just attention from
Right.
multiple women
Right.
causes a lot of men to feel uncomfortable, and then they kind of end up just going along with it, and then hurting people at the end. Obviously, this season we saw that happen with Randall.
Right.
And a lot of people were suggesting that he just, couldn't make a decision. It showed weakness on his part. But that happens every season on Ready to Love. There's always a man that's stuck like a deer in the headlights and doesn't really know how to manage that.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you feel like it's the man's a lot of people feel like it's the man's responsibility to say, this is what I'm doing, and be direct?
Mhm.
Or for me as a woman, I feel like, as a woman, if you're not seeing a man's words align with his actions, you should remove yourself. Because I don't feel like, as a woman, I should ever be just being waiting on a man to pick me. If he's doing other things, I should let him. I should let him go. That's just me. But how do you see that? How do you see that situation playing out? Do you feel like the responsibility rests on the man, or more so on the woman?
I mean, I think in reality, it always rests on the man. I think in that scenario, in that environment, that reality is snatched away. So you can't really, I can't judge it. All I can do is take my position on it, and my position was to tell you how I feel right away, and tell you how right away, and let you make a choice, and then you can decide whether or not that's something you're interested in or not. I think if the men would take that approach, a lot less women would be confused. So that's why I guess people started kind of drop off like flies for me, because I was just like, look, this is how I feel, this is how I think, and I'm not going to go along with any other narrative but this.
Yeah.
And I think if men take that type of stance, then it gives a woman a choice.
I like that. That's true. That's true. But if he doesn't take that stance, but you see his behavior not aligning, girl.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's what majority is doing. From experiencing.
Yeah.
It's making everything so confusing.
Yeah, absolutely. Bella Rose asked, what is your zodiac sign?
I am a Scorpio. My birthday is next.
Oh, your
Yeah,
birthday is Tuesday.
yeah, next Tuesday.
Okay, well, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Well, let me ask this before I ask you some other questions on dating, because I like your perspective.
Thank
Where
you.
are you guys now? Obviously,
Right.
like we saw how Looney felt. It seemed like after the second half of the reunion, it seemed like, well, first of all, it was a lot of stuff happening that didn't have anything to do with you guys. But it
Mhm.
seemed like you guys were in a better place, but it seemed more friendship than other.
Yeah.
Is that where you are now?
Yeah. I mean, again, we both understood after talking and conversing and communicating where we were mentally and how we feel emotionally about everything, and um, put both of us in a position to win. Like, in other words, she's working, she's traveling, she's doing what's necessary for her, and I would be uh, rude to get in the way of that. You get what I'm saying? If something wasn't concrete and really on point, let her go be great. Whereas though I can reach back, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but next year I can make a phone call like, "Hey, how you been?" And
Hmm.
what amounts from that. I get it. You can go after your woman, but if you go after your woman and things are aligned, it can cause confusion. Yeah.
That's true, but what if she's sad and heartbroken, Justice?
Well, this is I mean, how can I?
Like I don't want to.
I
Hey,
can't every day. Something we gotta go to the Lord about. That's like,
ah. Oh my goodness. That I mean, you are right, but I mean, in order to be ready to love, Justice, you have to be a little vulnerable.
yeah,
A little. And that is not vulnerable at all.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
not.
unfortunately, it was more so ready to connect. You know what I mean? In a sense,
Okay.
a reality standpoint. So you can't be ready for love if you're not ready to connect first.
That's true. That is true. That is true. Let me ask you this, because a lot of people watch this show
Right.
because dating is difficult,
Right.
right? Dating is difficult. I hope I don't ever have to date again. I recently got married. I got married over a year ago. I
Right.
hope I don't ever have to date again because it's hard. But um, I do think that the key to it is if we listen, if we do more listening to each other.
Mhm.
So if you could speak to like the women watching the show, because the show doesn't really show, the show entertains more than it actually like
Yeah.
helps people understand what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of women. Obviously, OWN is a predominantly female customer base. That's who they actually are most going after. There are some guys that watch the show, especially if their woman calls them in to watch it. But it's mostly women watching that are hopeful. They're watching, kind of living vicariously through the ladies on the show. What advice would you give women that are dating so that they will make smarter decisions? Because a lot of the decisions on the show, and I'm not going to go into some of the ladies, to me, didn't make smart decisions, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it sounds like you believe there's a lot of accountability on the men's part. But what advice would you give to women that are watching this show and looking for some advice from men, or at least a little bit of guidance on what can make this dating journey a lot more successful for them?
I believe that if every young lady allow um, their energy to be received from a man in a way where the man understands her internally before the outer appearance, like those conversations take place, and you can feel that, then you can take the necessary steps. Like, I believe that we got to get back to trusting ourselves. You know what I mean? And not just keep wanting things for something else, or have this thought of something. Keep trusting where you at. If you feel as though you're in a place where you need to be by yourself, then get the people around you can talk to so you can be by yourself.
Hmm.
Feel like you want to venture out and you want to find a man. Most of the time, the man is going to find you. Matter of fact, 99.9% of the time, the man is going to find you. That little 1%, I just say, so it's not law. You
Yeah,
know? Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I actually agree with that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. A question came from Lene, and I love this question because I have a book. I have a new book. Where's my
Okay.
book? My book is called Dear Alpha Female. It's not him, it's you, right?
Okay. Nice.
It's not him, it's you. So my book is me speaking to women, other alpha females, very driven females.
Right.
So Lene asked, hold on, let me scroll back up. She said, Justice.
Hold on
Huh?
one second. I might got to get my charger. I think I'm about
Okay. Go ahead, get your charger.
All right.
Thank you, Adanette. I appreciate that. I had to take the weave out and do the natural, and then we had to put this cute hat on to keep everything together. So I appreciate that. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Everybody's saying happy birthday to Juwan Justice. I actually am enjoying his conversation. I wish we got a chance to see more of this side of Justice on Ready to Love. But again, the show has given us the entertainment. It's given us a great storyline. So you guys keep the comments coming. But Lene, thank you for that question. That's a great question.
I think this is good.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we see you got the ambiance going there. Okay. So Lene asked, do you require mental dominance of a woman, or could you have a healthy relationship with an alpha female?
I don't require any dominance over a woman. Actually, I don't think to require something from somebody, but I do want to match my energy at my level and hope her energy matches my level and we evolve at the same frequencies. So then that way, I think if we do that, the more understanding we have, I think the less problems we'll have.
Okay. So let me ask this, because my book is really about women that are very career driven, and we saw that a lot of the women on the show, very, very career driven. Sharice was one, very much into her being an entrepreneur, successful business. All of them, Jamala, most of the women were very, from what we saw, had their stuff together. There are a lot of women that assume that men don't want to be with a woman that has a lot of leadership skills and is very driven, right? And is very ambitious. Right. Is that a problem for you?
No, it shouldn't be a problem at all.
Yeah.
It should be, if anything, is an addition to whatever you're building as a man. I mean, you want your mate to bring her kingdom to you, up to you as well. You want to know what she likes as well. You want to know how she feel, what her ideas was, because they have to coincide with what you're doing in order for it to work. So that should never be a burden.
It shouldn't be a burden, but then when it comes time to make decisions, how does that work for you? Like, how, because a lot of the problem is, like, it's cool until at the house somebody wants to be the alpha at home, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of men are like, yeah, keep that leadership out the door. And then some are like, well, I'm cool with her also contributing to the situation. My perspective is, I don't necessarily think men are intimidated by that. I think they don't like that a lot of women lead with that, and they don't allow a man to see the side of them that's not the career driven. That's what they're leading with, and I think that's the problem. But what's your perspective on that? Do you meet a lot of women like that?
I mean, in my industry, I do meet a lot of career driven women. I don't believe it affects how you relate to them. I think that you need to be able to coincide with that woman has built. If you're able to coincide with that, then you're going to feel the alpha together. Yeah. So the part of two people coming together is to create one. So there is no alpha. There's only one alpha. But the problem is people not focused on coming together. They're saying, you alpha, I'm alpha. We already apart. We're not really together. We thinking that way. Yeah. So there is only one alpha when two people come together.
I like that. that. Suburbia says you were protecting your energy on the show, and I understand that. Yeah. So last question, or at least almost the last question for you, is there, looking back on this whole experience, was this different than what you expected, or was it kind of in line with how you saw things going?
I mean, the editing, yeah. I mean, I wanted to see my date with Looney. I thought it was we did like a whole love and basketball date. I was looking forward to watching that. Even the clips, like most of my dates on YouTube clips. So, and they're, the ones that are causing you to, be like, I laugh at those things. You know what I'm saying? I laugh at the comments. I laugh at how people feel. You look at the internet, you look at those different things. I don't consume as much of it, but I am able to see that and notice that at least it caused a reaction. That's how I look at it. Because you could be sitting there and just be like, as you would be with some people.
You definitely caused a reaction.
Yeah. So,
You definitely caused a reaction.
yeah.
Is there anything that you would, knowing what you know now, if you were starting this process over again, would you do it again, or would you do anything different?
Um, it would be difficult because I would come into it with the knowledge of what I just experienced,
Hmm.
and I'm pretty sure that something's going to be challenging in that knowledge. Something's going to switch. Something's going to change. So it's going to just repeat everything that just already happened. So I probably wouldn't.
Yeah,
So it wouldn't make sense for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Would you go on reality TV again? Are you looking forward to possibly doing reality TV again?
Um, I mean, things are just options. I'm here, and I'm open to uh, what generation what comes my way in this particular situation. You know, when you say Oprah, you say Oprah. You know, and that was the mentality for me in the beginning. On top of having the opportunity to meet some young ladies and see if I can form some type of connection.
Hmm.
So if another opportunity came, it just depends on where I'm at in life, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, or I'd be like, nah.
Were you recruited for the show?
I was casted. I wouldn't say recruited. It was, the young ladies that do the casting. She was phenomenal. I mentioned her too on another interview. I wish I knew her name. I hope she's watching this, but she was phenomenal in explaining
Hmm.
and saying how I fit the criteria. And that just created enough comfortability for me to say, okay, well, what I need to do, let me see what's going on. And then once I had my formal interviews, they went very well. They were conversations like this. There
Hmm.
was no
Yeah.
picture of what's going to come or what's going to happen. So, and then I wound up saying, okay,
Well, say okay. I don't know. I have a friend that casts. Her name is Lala. I don't know if that's who you
okay,
talk to or not, but she's really dope.
okay,
And they do a great job. Last question, Justice. Are
okay.
you is marriage a goal for you? Are you looking forward to being somebody's husband?
I do look forward to it. I wouldn't consider it a goal because I would say I don't know the plans that God has for me. I don't know what direction He's going to take me. So, but it is something that I desire to have somebody and help me grow as a man, help me grow as far as what I'm trying to accomplish, give me peace of mind and all those beautiful things.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
have children?
Yeah, I have a boy and a girl. Yeah.
Do you want more children?
I'm open to it.
You're open.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm open to it. I mean, through marriage, obviously. I don't want to do the
Yeah.
same parent thing again. So
No, good for you. A lot of people don't say that. I'm like, that is not,
it's tough.
that
Yeah.
should not be the goal. And it is very tough on both
Yeah.
sides. It's very tough. Yeah. Well, I thank you so much
Thank you.
for tonight. Tonight's interview was awesome. I wish we got a chance to see more of this conversation on here,
Yeah.
but I do appreciate
Yeah.
the fact that you did stand in your truth and did not just play the game. Like, I
Right.
think that people appreciate somebody that is not just trying to waste their time as a viewer. So
Right. Yeah.
I do appreciate that, and we wish you much success. Please come back and share if you have something that you're working on that we can help promote.
Okay.
Definitely let me know, and we're happy to do that. And of course, if you have a beautiful love story that comes about, which I think most people eventually do, please
Yeah.
come back and share that as
Will
well.
do. Will do.
All right, have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Bye bye. All right. Thank you guys for watching. I know there was a lot going on tonight, but I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. That was a interesting interview. And yes, Bella, he moves in logic, not emotions. And actually, I think that's a good trait in a man because it does suggest leadership. But I enjoyed that. Now, guys, we are almost done with this season. Tomorrow night, we have Swayze and Kadian together. I'm excited to talk to them and hear about their love story because, just because a love story is unconventional does not mean it's not real. A lot of people are speculating, but we get a chance to ask the two of them. I'm interested to know what you guys thought of the Mike and Brandy. That was a lot. There was a lot in that interview I didn't really know about, but yeah, okay. We're locked in. We're moving towards the end of cuffing season here with Ready to Love. There's so much more to come. Tune in tomorrow night at 9 for the conversation with Katie and Swayze. I love you all for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.